Welcome back to the Rollup TV. It's been a couple weeks. It's crypto week in the USA. We're vibing. ETH's breaking out. I think what is ETH pushing? 3,100 right now. People are shilling ETH on Twitter. Saw 𝘗𝘳𝘏 put out a tweet saying, why are people still shilling Ethereum? Oh boy. Trump puts out a tweet today saying that we're going to be the crypto capital of the world. We're live from Sweden. Rob's traveling today, so he's not going to be able to join us. Got three amazing guests. We got 𝘗𝘗𝘏, good friend from last bull run, talking about his new Songcoins release. We got Michael from Securitize, Tokenization Mania is on. And of course, we've got 𝘗𝘯𝘀 from Union, who is gonna be one of the first companies to announce a new product on the Rollup TV. We're stoked on that. We're stoked to be back. Probably just go 2-3 times a week for the foreseeable future, but we've been cooking in the back end. We have new shows coming out as part of the stream. We've got new segments, new ideas. I see the live stream concept has significantly gained traction in crypto Twitter as a result of the last 8 weeks of the Rollup TV proliferation. I'm not going to take all the credit for it. Obviously, a lot of this entire stream stuff has been around for a while, but between some of the concepts from Thread Guy as of recently, some of the concepts from the Seed Club guys, and seeing Laura Shin, Blockworks, and others doing streams, it's very clear that this is the new content medium. So look, I'm stoked. I mean, I'm vibing in Sweden right now. We just had a crazy week at ECC, had another week in Albania, and I'm live from Sweden. We have 3 guests, 8 p.m. here. Did a ton of work today, got out for a walk, hit the gym, did a workout, feeling great. The market looks fantastic. I think we're in the animal spirits phase. I'm pretty stoked, glad to be here. And just did a lot of thoughts and reflections around where we're trying to take the Rollup and these streams in particular. So gonna be doing more and more of them. Excited to be here again today, back. Also stoked to have Rob back. It was good to have Rob back at the permissionless stuff. I know you guys saw the permissionless 2-day sprint. That was hectic, but glad to be here. This will just be a 2-hour go around today. And yeah, I mean, guys, if you're here, we are leaving the pre-rich zone. So hope you guys are feeling good. We've got 𝘗𝘯𝘀 coming in shortly, followed by Michael and followed by 𝘗𝘗𝘏. So yeah, I'm stoked. And I think like the biggest thing that I wanted to emphasize before we start the actual stream today is around what Trump put out. Trump put out Happy Crypto Week. So it's Crypto Week right now in the States, in the House and in the Senate. Basically, the core ideas here, they're trying to pass the Genius Act and the Clarity Bill. So basically, Trump tweeted today that they're going to get the first vote done this afternoon on the Genius Act, and then moving towards the Clarity Act as well. And then there's also a market structure act in there too. Look, I think this is mega bullish for Ethereum. Tom Lee's been going out and talking about how Ethereum is a stablecoin chain, absolutely bull posting till he can't anymore on like a very, very traditional finance oriented way. So I think the Genius Act should be a very, very bullish short-term impact on Ethereum. I also think if you look at the sentiment and the charts, I think Bitcoin is starting to finally move strongly. So people are talking about alt season. I don't know. I don't really have a preference on when necessarily. Look, I'd be excited if Ethereum starts to kind of lead Bitcoin here. But guys, we're in a very unprecedented time in the market. So excited to be here. Excited to talk to some of the founders and get back into the groove today. I just think that you have Trump saying that we're gonna make the United States the crypto capital of the world. It's pretty hard to be bearish right now. So that being said, coming up, we're gonna get 𝘗𝘯𝘀 in. 𝘗𝘯𝘀 is a good friend of ours on the show. Has been on many times and is part of the bigger picture of the Rollup. He invested in us back in the day. It was probably like early 23 where we did a ZK series around how kind of like building out ZK infrastructure, what this means, etc. For the space. And you know, he took a chance, sponsored one of the Rollups initial kind of series, and this led us to launching more and more series, building out an entire kind of business model around these specific content flows. So we ended up investing into Union in our fund at one of the earlier valuations. I think people might be a bit upset that they're not going to get the TGE announcement today. That's okay. Again, these guys supported us kind of deeper in the bear market, and you know, it's going to be fun. So yeah, let's get 𝘗𝘯𝘕 up here, and let's vibe out. It's been a while since we've streamed. 𝘗𝘯𝘕, well, what's up, man?
Hey, Andy, good to see you again on stream. Yeah, long time since we spoke.
Yeah, man. Rob's not here today. He's traveling. I'm live from Sweden. It's 8 p.m. here.
Nice, yeah. I was over calling in from the Netherlands, my home country, just arrived a couple of hours ago.
Dude, so, we've got Twitter going crazy, man. I don't know what's going on, but I saw some guy was yelling at you because he said you stole his ZK girlfriend. Everybody wants huge news. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. I think we might have like pre-hyped this announcement a little bit too much, because people are thinking that I'm gonna announce TGE or potentially the literal coming of Christ. That's not the case. All day I've been telling the community, like, lower your expectations. You guys are freaking out too much. Although there will be coming in the future as well soon, but not today yet.
Yeah, man, and we'll dive into the news. I think that we'll kind of get that dropped out here from Union and from the accounts associated shortly. But man, just like, you know, how are you feeling, man? I mean, it feels like animal spirits are back. I mean, it's certainly a bull market. I mean, these treasury companies, I mean, it's fucking crazy.
Exactly, bull market is back. We kind of with Union made a bet on Bitcoin and BTC-Fi a couple of months ago, right? Investing more heavily into that, like really narrowing down actually our scope. Because with Union initially we founded it thinking we're going to connect literally every single chain out there. That's still the objective. But kind of go-to-market strategy, we heavily tailored that around Bitcoin institutions, treasury companies, etc. So that's actually coming out very nicely right now, right? Like the market is actually exactly doing what we want the market to do as well. So very happy that we basically made that.
Yeah. So, okay. So this transition, maybe you kind of like lay out the thought a bit deeper here. So you kind of come out building some very technical cryptography around ZK, around interop, and really just, you know, things like proof aggregation, ZK Lite clients, these types of things. But you know, from the founder's perspective, right, from the CEO's perspective, it's very important to be able to, you know, stay in tune with the market and just generally kind of like where the puck is going, and be able to kind of think longer term. And so identified this kind of BTC-Fi opportunity. You know, just kind of walk us through that, like some, you know, deeper thought there. What is the opportunity that you're looking to seize here? You know, why are you guys well positioned for it? And then let's drop some news.
Yeah, the opportunity I see is obviously absolutely massive, right? Like Bitcoin is still the king of the crypto assets, and to be honest, I think now with this new bull market, we're going to maybe see it become like the king of all assets out there, right? So being associated with the Bitcoin ecosystem, being like a core infrastructure provider, I think is probably going to be like the best bet that we've made so far with Union. It also aligns very well, actually, if you look at our like tech stack, like what do we try to bring to the table, right? As a like intro provider, as infrastructure provider, you have to figure out like your user base, what's like kind of your corner of the sector that your philosophy aligns with. And we align with decentralization, high security. And that's actually exactly the thing that big Bitcoin holders align with as well, right? They're not necessarily looking to get massive yield, right? They don't want to get a 5x every single day. They're actually looking for relatively low but safe yield, because the one thing they don't want is to lose their Bitcoin in a bridge hack, right? It's like that's the thing they're the most scared of. Basically, they're even willing to take zero yields as long as they don't lose their Bitcoin at all. And so Union actually provides like exactly what they want, which is like focus on extremely high security, focus on decentralization, right? I, as a founder, can't work them either. And if you actually look at the Bitcoin space itself, there's like miners in China, there's institutions, there's OG whales, there's people who are selling like LSD in the early days, accepting Bitcoin as payment.
Who are super wealthy now, which is crazy.
Exactly. But there's also people that kind of self-custody. So
Yeah.
the fact that they don't need to trust Union, that they don't need to trust me, my team, and Oracle, and multisig, whatever, but that basically they're still effectively self-custodying, even though they're using it in DeFi. That's something that aligns really well with what they want to do.
Yeah, it's very important for them and like what they believe in, right? You know, that's
Exactly.
like, that's part of their core ethos. All right, well, let's let's get to the mashed potatoes and the steak here, the steak and potatoes. What is the big news that you are dropping today for Union, for the community? They've got their pitchforks out. They want to hear from 𝘗𝘯𝘕. Let's talk about it. What is Union rolling out today?
So as we went into this Bitcoin specific journey and we started talking with institutions, LPs, whales, and clients, we basically realized that we are in the perfect position to kind of create the next generation Bitcoin LST ourselves. With us now being the main bridge in the Babylon and Bitcoin ecosystem, the main BSM, basically securing all of those transaction flows, we're now also in the perfect position to roll out our own BTC derivative. This is great for Union long term because it provides us with a revenue stream, or the protocol with a revenue stream that doesn't rely on us squeezing out tiny users at high transaction fees, like we see certain other bridges do. It allows us to basically scale with the AUM or the TVL that we have instead of the daily transaction volume that we're doing. And so it much better serves the type of transactions that we're doing right now. We actually don't see many tiny transfers happening in at the moment. We see people transferring 10 million BTC all at once. And so basically rolling out these asset issuance type products and having the protocol support them natively provides the protocol with a much better growth opportunity long term. This isn't the pivot. This isn't just switching what we're doing. This actually really well aligns with what a bridge is supposed to do. Because if you kind of pull away the veil of marketing from a bridge itself, it's basically the same tech as an asset issuer under the hood. And so with all of these synergies that we found across Babylon stack, but also other chains right now, yield opportunities we discovered, relations we have with all the Bitcoin LSTs, kind of puts us in this perfect position to roll out this product.
So, one of the things that a lot of these, first of all, congratulations. Curious what the ticker is going to be. Is it going to be UNBTC or UBTC or what's this? What is the, give us the ticker here.
Okay, so this will be dropping a lot of alpha, but it's going to be AUBTC because it's the gilded version of BTC, making BTC the king. And if you actually look at our testnet right now, the smallest denomination of the Union token on testnet is also AU. So a little bit of alpha for you on how you refer to it. And for those who like chemistry, AU on the periodic table is gold as well, of course.
Beautiful. And so, one of the big strategies that I was, that I think the entire market realized from the intra perspective the last 12 to 18 months has been the opportunity with regards to connecting chains is still very much present but very cutthroat. The opportunity for connecting to asset issuers off chain and bringing them on chain and kind of operating within this more bridge between traditional finance and DeFi was where a lot of the big opportunity was. Now you guys are almost still obviously seeing that play out, but almost like skipping a step and going straight to being like, okay, we're just gonna be the asset issuer, and then we'll be able to use our own technology to bring that form of this Bitcoin LST to wherever Union, the protocol, already is connected. And so you can see a lot of different opportunities for potential yield, et cetera, on some of the chains and on Union itself. Is that the right way to kind of think about it?
Exactly, and it transforms kind of the type of sales that we do when we talk with these institutions. Instead of us trying to convince someone here's Sui, it's a fantastic chain, it's fast, we actually highlight the DeFi opportunities we have for them. We can kind of almost even skip altogether the type of chain that it's going to be on, right? And we can just highlight these are currently the yield opportunities that we have available. This is our recommended strategy, and we can completely omit actually which chain this is happening on. What ecosystem this is embedded in, or if you need to switch around various assets, go into a different one, right? We have an all-encompassing package here that kind of does what we set out to do originally, right? Abstract all of these blockchains away into just one uniform experience.
Yeah. So give us a bit more details about the LST. How are you thinking about rolling this out? What is your strategy to be able to turn this into something that you feel will be a significant revenue generator for the Union protocol, the decentralized Union network? How are you thinking about kind of rolling this out? How are you thinking about turning it into something that ends up generating quite a bit of revenue, and kind of like where are you seeing the opportunities for a Bitcoin LST in the market today?
Yeah, so we basically see kind of two opportunities we need to capture. One is, of course, now that Babel is announcing a whole host of new cents, where I think there's actually a lot of really high quality ones amongst them that actually like reignites the staking opportunity. And on top of that, what we see most right now is actually a lot of institutions and Bitcoin whales being tired of airdrop farming with their BTC LSTs, and they're just looking for like solid revenue, right? Solid recurring revenue on their Bitcoin. They don't need to chase insane potential airdrop yields. They just want something that they can rely on. So we're looking to capture both opportunities here. On top of that, we're introducing a new technological primitive to the Union stack, which we call principally protected vaults. Basically, what this means is that we're combining our tech stack, our ZK tech stack, with a sort of gearbox-like vault technology. What it allows us to do is give select institutions access to DeFi opportunities on chains, but completely protecting them from DeFi hacks and bridge risk. Effectively, we sort of creating this really safe sandbox for them. And we're telling them, if you're, let's say, staking with set layer, or you are LPing two Bitcoin derivatives against each other. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, my phone went off. Or you're LPing derivatives against each other, then we ensure that your original Bitcoin principal is fully protected in the case that Union might get hacked, in the case that the DEX that you're LPing on gets hacked. Basically, we offer kind of the best that these institutions want to do, which is access to yield in a much more secure way. The great thing for Union as a protocol is that this also offers the prime yield opportunity, because with this like added protection that we give, allows LPs to chase higher yields, which means that Union as a protocol takes a percentage of this yield. And so it puts the protocol in a position where it doesn't need to incentivize its users to do bridge transfers every single day. It can basically just have its users do a bridge transfer once, be active on the chain, LPing, chasing yields, and basically earning passive yield on top of that. So once again, puts us more in the asset issuance category.
Yeah. So less need around volume in terms of quantity of transactions through the bridge to incentivize people to use it, to get fees. More around, okay, let's provide some of the best opportunities available to get yield through some of these partners for players that have a lot of Bitcoin. Be the source that they want to actually effectively take their Bitcoin and either through some sort of like lock and there's some sort of mechanism, right, where they take their actual Bitcoin, deposit it into these different vaults, which then kind of gives you these LSTs, and then that then they're able to go and basically based on like their level of risk, there's junior tranches, senior tranches, these types of kind of risk parameters. They're able to then go and earn yield. You guys can basically earn a small cut of that for having this service that could scale to, billions of dollars of deposits, and then you can kind of look at Union almost becomes like a Tether type player, if you will.
Exactly. And specifically from like a tech perspective, what we will be building is basically connections to new chains, because there's opportunities for our LPs there, right? So that's the way we kind of analyze where does the future technological like direction for Union lie, is exactly where do we find these golden opportunities, where's expansion worth it to do so, and then in a very purposeful way we build those connections as well, right? Focus on integrating with kind of the DeFi protocols that interest us there, instead of necessarily thinking we just want to connect that chain because we like doing two logos in the partnership.
No, I think while I still am bullish on intra protocols that can effectively be everywhere with low lift, there's obviously a power law happening where you basically want to be where the money and where the activity is. The effort focused there on kind of depth over breadth, I think, is very clearly kind of like the strategy to to win. Let's talk about Babylon. So you guys are, you kind of briefly mentioned, a couple tidbits there, but from what I understand, Union is becoming a Bitcoin secured network through Babylon, receiving a 25 million Babby token, allocation, grant, etc. And you guys are going to be able to then take Union and effectively make it into a Bitcoin secured network, in addition to whatever consensus you guys have already or are planning to do. How did that come about? What did I mess up? And what does this bring to the Union network?
Yeah, for us specifically, brings further censorship resistance to the Union network. So actually previously before this, Union itself already has extremely good security properties, but more so it actually embeds us deeper in this BTC-Fi ecosystem, right? With Union becoming the default bridge for the various BSNs to communicate with each other, potentially even the default bridge for the BSNs to pay Babylon in the token as well on their inflation, right? So you might see indeed that Union kind of still actually functions as this indeed like pure payment router under the hood for these various system chains. So that's going to provide a whole bunch of volume and traffic to us. And then on top of that, it kind of makes us that like canonical entry point into on-chain Bitcoin.
Yeah, and so Babylon has created, they're called DSNs. And
Yeah.
what does that stand for?
Bitcoin secured network.
Or sorry, BSNs, Bitcoin Secure Networks. Okay, so basically with their I guess it's restaked Bitcoin. Is that the correct term?
I don't actually think it's restaked. I think it's all natively staked Bitcoin.
Okay.
And so effectively, you can see it as AVSs, although a little bit more tightly integrated with each other.
Yeah.
And so Union kind of becomes the communication layer between all of these BSNs.
Got it. Okay. And then this enhances or is a core part of the actual LST product as well, correct? Like these go hand in hand?
Yeah, exactly. Because as you can imagine, for the LST product to work, we want to actively stake the Bitcoin first on these various BSNs. We need to have the direct connection to the Bitcoin chain itself, of course, and to Babylon. So actually, from a technological perspective, it all fits in very nicely here for kind of the main like liquidity layer in this ecosystem to be the main bridge as well and the main communication layer.
Yep. Got it. Beautiful. Wow. That is not the Union that I knew a year and a half ago.
Yeah, exactly. We're just actually like committing more, right? So for some probably have already seen the signs, right, over the last couple of months with how we're betting. I think it's strategically the wisest choice. And with now us entering a new bull market and hopefully Bitcoin indeed going even more to the moon, I think we'll be in a very good position.
Yeah, man. So I can't help but ask why, this Union community has been absolutely ravenous on my tweets, tagging me on the Rollup. You guys have really built this kind of, it feels like grassroots, organic community. It feels like you guys have somehow like zigged when others have zagged, in the sense that there's a lot of these kind of like, very incentivized, pure transactional community. But, you guys have been building this for quite a while in that way that, last time we spoke, you mentioned that there's people in your community who are like, look, saying to other community members, like, if you're not doing enough work, like, you're not going to get anything. Like, you need to be actively contributing. And it feels like you guys have built this kind of culture around really trying to grow within each other and for the broader space, as a whole. Part of that, I've seen some stuff that you guys announced in the community call, I think today, around some of the upcoming Kaido incentives as well. Maybe you could just like give some advice from a founder's perspective as to, how to build a really strong community in the space, what that really means, and then, what's coming up for this community that so deeply cares about what you guys are shipping.
Yeah, so I think for us, really the turning point was when 2 years ago we experimented with maybe doing a quest or two on MVHQ. We did one on 𝘗𝘯𝘵. That didn't work out for us in the early days. It wasn't genuine. We didn't really get community members from that. Instead, to be honest, like Core and I just sat down over Christmas. We it's something that we thought was really cool, which was kind of like our achievement dashboard, inspired by my time playing with Warcraft, right? Like I kind of wanted something like very reminiscent of that. And then we just, to be honest, like we really went out there. I'm really happy with our community. I make a lot of sarcastic jokes, which sometimes they dislike, sometimes we argue on Twitter. But I think the thing that we just did as founders, we just went out there and just started vibing with them in the replies, in the comments, making jokes, and almost fostering like our own community. We've had some community members started like 100 followers who are now like at 5K followers, all by kind of building their personality around Union. And that's originally when I went into crypto, what happened as well, right? Get these like weird random anon accounts, and just because you like
chain link Marines and shit. Yep.
Exactly.
You like build your personality around this entire community. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we kind of wanted to bring back a bit. Now the market changed, of course, right? Like with 𝘰𝘳𝘺 and 𝘰𝘭𝘢, like you have to play it a little bit differently. You can't do it the same way people did it 5 years ago. So we had to play into that. But we really wanted to make sure that it wasn't just going to be kind of like a whale game, or the same KOLs that you see everywhere, like hop into a project briefly, almost like mercenary mind share, and then move on to the next one, right? So even with the new stuff that we're doing, we're looking to make sure that like our OG community members benefit the most, and that we attract like long-term community members from this. Not just like a brief spike in mind share and then them moving back to the next project, but having them stay consistently with you. And that's difficult to do, to be honest. It's like almost like experimenting every week to see what does work, what doesn't work, and how do we make this something great.
Yeah, no, I mean, InfoFi and 𝘰𝘳𝘺 completely changed things from my perspective as well. And there was a period there where, you know, there was a lot of people just doing whatever they could for the, you know, different leaderboard allocations per se. And then I think it's kind of calmed down a bit. You know, I think there's a you know, there's a question to be asked, right, from the content creator's perspective with regards to like your actual influence versus like your you know, Twitter engagement and such, and like that is bifurcating more and more as a result of some of this stuff. But actually, what's funny and ironic is that the entire inception of, you know, of 𝘰𝘳𝘺, of these platforms, was actually meant to show who had real influence and who was like either had botted followers or had, you know, nobody who was a smart follower following them. And so that really kind of was the point, I think. And then now 6-8 months in, it's actually kind of gone full circle in that we're seeing like another kind of layer of the onion be unraveled, where there are people who have, you know, gone too far on like trying to optimize for mind share in different communities and not far enough on optimizing for actual, you know, intelligent original thought. And so be interesting just to see how this all plays out. It's just a really big human social experiment at scale, which is they're always fun to be a part of. Just any more information on this 𝘰𝘳𝘺 program that you guys plan to launch sometime next week, or just good to tease it here?
Yeah, I'm just going to tease it here for now. I think we're like in a really good position on this, since we're like basically built like our own dashboard in-house for this, right? So
beautiful. And
we have a lot of info on our users, both like on-chain, what they've been doing in our community so far. So we're trying to combine that in a really good way. We know which yappers have used the product and which ones.
Yeah,
right?
That's a big like that's like where the next step of InfoFi is going. Like there's a new project called 𝘱𝘬𝘺. They're just tying everything from like kind of like mindshare to actual conversions on chain. That's kind of like the next. It's like the second level of market saturation for this kind of space. So interesting to hear that, and keen to kind of follow that and watch that come out. Got a couple minutes left here. Obviously, big announcements today. Been in the pipe for a while. Looking ahead, everybody's ready for mainnet. Everybody wants TGE. Everyone wants to see this thing out there in the wild. We want to see your Bitcoin LST get to 250, 500, 750, $1 billion TVL. You know, figure out ways to get revenue back to the token, back to, you know, create this kind of flywheel, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of things coming. But what is your main prerogative for the next, you know, quarter or so, end of summer into, you know, the end of Q3, early Q4? What's your main focus? What are you guys shipping? And, you know, kind of how are you thinking about the road to mainnet?
Yeah, so specifically for this Bitcoin LST or aggregated LST product, we kind of made the hires a couple of weeks ago already. So one of my foci is like onboarding them, basically getting them to execute on this. But my main focus still remains like Union full mainnet. So for those who might think like, oh, this is like announcement is kind of surprisingly coming out of nowhere. No, we're actually planning for this for a couple of months now, and have now made like all of the key hires to be able to execute on this fully. With folks who previously worked at other major Bitcoin LSTs. And now, for me, actually now those hires have been made, I can actually focus back on indeed, like, I won't say it's the final step, but indeed like full mainnet, the next big milestone for you.
Beautiful, beautiful. And are we thinking like couple months out, end of the year? What's your like what's your estimated timeline here, and kind of like what are the next, like what are the actual steps that you have to finish off the last iteration of testnet, do some things that kind of like what's the steps, what's the estimated timeline, if you can share?
Yeah, so we actually had an original marketing announcement. So our objective is to actually TGE this summer. Once again, never promises on timelines, right? We just don't know what happens.
Devs are dev.
Community members, like, I wish I could just press a button and launch an insane sick token, right? And just be done with it, right? But there's so much work that you need to do to actually TGE. Like, it's an insane amount of work that has to occur. But no, that's still literally the objective. I don't want to like first get this BTC LST to 3 billion TVL and then TGE, right? I want to basically have those things happen concurrently in the journey.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, 𝘗𝘓𝘓, I appreciate your time. Congrats on the announcement. Congrats on launching this. And it sounds like you had a busy couple months, so I'm sure you'll be heads down. But looking forward to syncing up again closer to mainnet and watching this kind of go from 100 mil, 200 mil, 300 mil. I'm sure you got a bunch of things lined up. So stoked for this, and thanks for joining, man.
Thank you so much for having me, Andy.
All righty, buddy. Speak soon. Cheers. There we go. All right. There's the news. The Union Bitcoin LST is coming out. They are becoming a Bitcoin secured network. They are collaborating with Babylon. They got a Kaido incentive program coming out shortly. Wow, what a day for the Union folks. And it is 8:30 p.m. in Sweden. Markets are ripping. It's crypto week in America. What a time to be alive. Up next, we got Michael from Securitize. But I've got a couple things that I want to show you guys before we jump on as to why Bitcoin is kind of lagging today. And we had a bit of a 4, 5, 6% drop on Bitcoin in general, which is fine. You know, I think people are kind of freaking out about Bitcoin being at 118K or something. But what I'm going to show you is what I think the reason why, and I think a lot of people are kind of sketched out about this, and rightfully so. So we're going to get that pulled up on the screen. Do a little vibing. Good first episode back, first segment. We're live in Sweden. It's 8:30 p.m. I miss Robbie. Where's Rob at? All right. So the news for today is the dormant Bitcoin whale offloading billions. Wow. Okay. So what's happening here is basically the problem that the market is seeing is that there has been massive OTC sales of Bitcoin directly on the market from a whale who activated their address from, I think, either 13 or 14 years ago. And so this person was like kind of, I guess, part of the Satoshi era. It's been 14 years since they've activated this address. They sold 2.3 billion via Galaxy Digital. And then I think they sent another, I don't know, I think it was like 2,000 Bitcoin or something to Bybit to sell. So I think that's probably why the market's a bit spooked right now. I'm not really worried about it. I think this lasts all of a couple of days. This guy's going to finish selling. What a generational trade. I mean, oh my God. Trade of a century right there. I mean, he got Bitcoin in from, I guess, 14 years ago in 2011. You must have thought it was be cents to dollars. sells it for 1.35 or 2.35 billion OTC. So I think that's kind of where a lot of the fear in the markets came from. I get it. It's reasonable. I'm not potentially worried about it. I think it's just part of kind of like the here and now, part of this, of the reality of markets. And, I think that it's something that will probably pass. So I think that this gives a good reason for Ethereum to outperform. We'll see, though. I'm not really going to sit here and talk my market predictions. I'm definitely not a good trader. I am a buyer and a holder. I got lucky on Hyperliquid at $2. That thing's up there at 47 now. Got lucky on Pengu. That thing's doing well. So don't listen to my market advice. Definitely not financial advice. But look, I think that this gives ETH an opportunity to breathe. I think this is a lot of the kind of fear in the market today. And, I'd expect this kind of turn of events to be over shortly. So, all right, guys, that is the Bitcoin segment. That is that. Up next, we've got Michael Sonnenschein from Securitize. We're going to pull the screen back. We're going to go to Michael in a bit. Michael is the COO of Securitize, formerly at Grayscale. It is tokenization mania right now in the RWA front. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but on my timeline, I've been putting out a ton more kind of charts from RWA, XYZ. Shout out to those guys. Those guys are absolutely crushing. Credible source for data in the RWA space. Can rely on them for stablecoins, private credit, bonds, stocks, etc. coming on chain. So I've been stoked to been just using their data more and more. But we've got Michael coming on. He's pioneering a lot of the work at Securitize. They're crushing. I got a ton of questions for him about the work that they're doing. I'm stoked on it. Let's get back to it. Bitcoin's pumping. Wish I had some music. Gonna have to get some music on the set going forward, and some still need some audience clappings and shebangs and stuff, but that's coming. I need some music on the set soon to be able to get the vibes going, get the people going a little bit. Yeah, I need a cha-ching. Michael comes on here in a second or two, and he's like, 25 billion in RWAs. We're like, cha-ching, cha-ching. So that's coming soon. We got other stuff coming soon on the roll-up. We got new shows. We got new segments coming on the roll-up. We got a new focus as well. We're seeing a bit more of these live streams kind of roll out. So we're gonna zig while others zag and see what comes next. But yeah, we got Michael joining us. He's coming on. We got another 30-minute segment with Michael. Looking forward to having him on. Should be fun. And yeah, guys, market looks good. I'm feeling good. 8:33 in Sweden. Definitely gonna go for some dinner after this stream. About an hour left. Big day. So let's get Michael in here any second, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Let's go. We're getting Michael up here. We're gonna have to turn the professionalism on. We're going full RWA. We're going full institutions here, guys. Let's have some fun. Let's talk Securitize. Let's talk Grayscale. Let's talk RWAs. Let's talk what's going on with the ecosystem. And yeah, I'm stoked. I have a lot of questions. I have a lot to learn still. And I know it's going to be a good stream. So let's go. If you guys don't know what Securitize is, they are one of the larger players in the tokenization space, along with BlackRock. They're pioneering a lot of the BlackRock build programs, a lot of the multi-chain stuff. Anything that you're seeing from Ripple to Wormhole to Layer 0 and more, Securitize is likely behind it. So Michael's ready. He's in the back. Let's get him up. And yeah, let's have a fun show. Michael, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Good to see you, man. I'm digging that art in the background. Well, what is that? Is that an NFT by chance?
It is not an NFT, but the fact that we're calling it potentially an NFT, someone will probably screenshot this conversation and turn it into an NFT, right? No, it's actually aerial photography. It's a beach. Those are beach umbrellas.
Oh, wow. That's super cool, man. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show. It's 8:30 here in Sweden. You're calling in. You're live. Nothing that you say will be used against you unless you have some really spicy takes. But
Okay.
but yeah, man, welcome on. Wanted to talk mostly about this tokenization mania that's happening today. I mean, it seems like day after day, the news wire rings with different announcements, different collaborations, and a lot of these partnerships really just bridging the gap between kind of the traditional finance world and DeFi, crypto native world. So why don't we just get started with a brief introduction of Securitize? Really, I think that getting to understand what it is that you guys do at the core level would be great. And I got a ton of fun questions for you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it's great to be here. Appreciate the time. So, I'm Michael Sonnenschein. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Securitize. I've actually only been with Securitize for the past 7 months. I've been in the crypto space over the last 12 years. So been at this game for a while, seen a lot of different cycles and a lot of different themes and breakthroughs within crypto. But I do think this time it feels a little bit different, which hopefully we can talk about today. Um,
Oh,
you
don't
know,
say that, Michael. Don't say that.
um, at Securitize, I really give credit to the team, our co-founder and CEO Carlos Domingo, who has been really pushing the company over the last 7 years. For a long time, was pushing this concept of tokenization. Candidly, no one really cared about it until the last probably 12 or 18 months. And so, really, at its core, Securitize is a technology platform. It has built the infrastructure to be able to mint real world assets. In our case, we really just focus on tokenization of securities onto public blockchains. So today we're integrated with a dozen public blockchains, everything from Arbitrum to Solana to Ethereum to Avalanche to Aptos, Inc., you name it. And we really work as a service provider for some of the largest asset issuers in the world. Folks like Apollo and BlackRock and Van Eck and Hamilton Lane, KKR, really helping them to bring traditional investment offerings from their traditional formats onto public blockchains. And so we're able to do that both with the combination of our tech infrastructure that allows us to mint these assets on public chains, as well as the fact that we have the right licensure and that we're doing this in a compliant manner. So we have a regulated broker dealer that allows us to sell, authorizes us to sell tokenized securities. We have an SEC registered transfer agent, so that we're always keeping a set of shadow books and records on who owns what, and also a fund administration business. So as these investments make their way onto public blockchains, we have the right infrastructure to surround how those funds are serviced day to day. So in totality, it is really a vertically integrated offering for top tier issuers looking to bring investments on chain.
Beautiful. I think it's going to be super helpful to understand a bit of like the why now question before getting into some of the nitty gritty. And so, you guys have just been recognized for being the first to tokenize 5 different RWAs with over $100 million in AUM each. So congratulations. I'm curious from your perspective, what the top factors that are driving traditional finance titans to embrace tokenization now, and kind of what are these new capabilities? What are these new reasons that have recently emerged that aren't possible with legacy assets or weren't possible in the past? Just like why now?
Yeah, so I would start by saying it's not really hype. I think where we are today is really history in the making. There is always this impatience around crypto. Like, why not faster? Like, why aren't things, happening faster? Why am I still not buying a cup of coffee with Bitcoin? All those kinds of things. But I think really what's different about where we are now is just the numbers speak for themselves, and I think who's involved only gives that greater tailwinds and validity to the staying power, not of just the asset class, but this subset of the asset class. So when you look at the RWA market, even just the last 6 months, it's like doubled in size
Yeah,
almost, right?
it's
Like we've
crazy.
gone, RWAs now are over 25 billion at the moment, which is just wild. And when you look at previous cycles or previous breakthroughs within the crypto space, there was a lot more, I think, embedded in this idea of speculation, adopting technology early, things like that. And eventually, more of those institutional investors and institutional capital came in. Now, when we look at who's getting involved in the RWA space, it's the largest asset issuers in the world. It's
Yeah.
BlackRock, it's Apollo, it's folks like that. And so I think that lends a certain credibility and validity to what we're seeing. And it's also not just kind of experimentation, right? We're actually seeing real infrastructure being built, and the real deployment of assets on chain in a way that is far outstripping, far outshining their traditional counterparts. And that's really why I think it's so different.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, between and on it, like I think there's actually a deeper driver with regard specifically on the economic side, which is actually ironically the higher interest rates has led to so much more demand for T-bills and U.S. Treasuries, and then stablecoins obviously have kind of grown into this mega behemoth idea that is so easy to understand for the non-crypto folk. That is, you can really just democratize access to not only just US dollars, but US dollar denominated yields globally, right? And so I think while I think the rest of the crypto markets are screaming for rate cuts, and even I think Trump is himself, I think that a larger part of this entire sector, and frankly, a reason why I think a lot of people wrote off their interest in it, because it was just, oh, it's just T-bills. Oh yeah, they're tokenizing T-bills, great. But that kind of allowed the foundation to really be built, around, okay, we can actually bring this real financial product on chain that has a real use case, real yield. And that, I think, maybe you see it differently, but I feel like that was the foundation in my mind of this entire concept of RWAs tokenization. Obviously now it's quite a bit bigger. But I think that, that part also played a big role. And without the kind of broader macroeconomic reality of higher rates, maybe this space would have started in a completely different way. Yeah.
That's certainly possible. And I think to your exact point, stable coins have seen explosive growth. They're continuing to expand rapidly, just even as we're speaking here today. They're certainly reshaping and recasting the way that people think about value, moving value on chain. And there's no question that they have become the common denominator across the crypto ecosystem, right? Whether it's for trading, for moving value, for derivatives, whatever it is that you're doing, stable coins are kind of showing up everywhere. What's interesting about where the RWA cycle is in general, though, is that things like tokenized treasuries are starting to challenge the stablecoin model, right? And I think the on-chain investor is starting to rethink what they should be using to collateralize their on-chain activities, given the yields and the high-quality assets that are available to them, and things like tokenized treasuries, and even some of the other yield-bearing assets that we're starting to see coming out of the tokenization space. So it is definitely a pivotal time for all of this.
Yeah. One other kind of thought with regards to how this has played out is, and I think a misconception of a lot of Ethereum believers early on, was that all the RWAs are just going to be living on Ethereum. It's the most secure, censorship-resistant network. It's where everyone's going to want to be. What we've actually seen is, one, it appears to be more of a lack of a preference for general purpose chains, let's call it Avalanche, Solana, Ethereum, Aptos, etc. And then also actually a desire for more of specialized and custom, chain developments, Converge with Athena, Plasma, and Stable, those kind of Tether chains, Robinhood chain. How, did you think that it was going to play out this way? Were we all wrong thinking that it was just going to be on Ethereum? Looking back, is this what you thought would happen? And maybe we can then make a more kind of forward-looking thought as to where these things will live in the future.
Yeah, well, it's a great point. I mean, at Securitize, we're certainly, chain agnostic. We're integrated with a dozen public blockchains. So everything from, like I shared, Ethereum to Arbitrum to Avalanche to Solana, you name it. There has definitely been, I'd say, probably the predominant amount of RWAs minted on EVM chains. but you are starting to see more movement into, things like Solana and, some other parts of the crypto ecosystem. And I think that's a function of the fact that each of these chains and their associated entities and ecosystems and enthusiasts, they all have these installed bases of participants and investors and people that are looking to engage on those protocols in new ways, right? So if you're someone who's a Solana enthusiast, yeah, sure, maybe you are speculating on the price of Solana, maybe you're actively staking Solana, maybe you're doing all these other things. But now the fact that there are these on-chain investment opportunities for you to participate in on Solana creates yet another use case, another utility that maybe wasn't there before. And so when we think about each of these as sub ecosystems, you can see why we at Securitize are minting assets across so many different blockchains, and then also working with great partners like Wormhole to facilitate interoperability across each of these ecosystems. And I think one of the other things that we're also doing, which is exciting, is also working on building another blockchain. We're working with the team at Athena to launch Converge, which will be a new blockchain that's really, we hope, going to be a like a settlement layer, a sub, kind of common denominator as we think about these really high quality RWAs and how they live and interact with the world of DeFi, which for a lot of the on-chain investors is really where they want to take their RWAs to get that much more value out of them, that much more utility out of them. So I think it's too early to make a call. And I think that we will continue to see rapid RWA development across a lot of different chains, a lot of different ecosystems.
Yeah. I mean, I think Converge is a perfect example of a thesis that we've held at the Rollup for a while, which is around, originally it was kind of application specific chains, but I really kind of view it as like, okay, you have these purpose built environments specifically for specific reasons and for a specific use case, and then also for a niche market segment. So it's kind of like these niche purpose built chains are where I think a lot of the space is going to head, and it just happens to be that Converge, accurately fits into this. So let's go a bit deeper on Converge. As you mentioned, Securitize is one of the largest, if not the largest, RWA issuer on Ethereum, right? If you don't count stablecoins, now partnering with Athena's USDE, which is the top 3 stablecoin, top 4 stablecoin in the world. How do you view this kind of partnership, joint venture, this launch of this chain to further cement Ethereum and Converge as the go-to platform for institutional and traditional finance? How do you really plan to make that a reality?
Yeah, so I think it really comes down to the partnerships and the ecosystem that, we and the Athena team are building around Converge. So for one, on the Securitize side, we're certainly hoping to bring many of the top tier asset issuers that we already work with to the Converge ecosystem so that they can bring their products, to new users and new use cases and new utility. Certainly with Athena, a lot of their partners across the DeFi ecosystem, I think, really can help enhance what that looks like. And so as we want to move towards launching Converge, hopefully, in Q3, it's not just about the infrastructure or the issuers, but it's a lot of the application partners. So we've already, announced folks like Maple and Morpho and Pendle and Terminal and Strata. And so from the get-go, for us, it's really about having these types of partnerships, this types of functionality in place as the RWAs make their way into the Converge ecosystem, and then also making sure that we have the appropriate developer tools so that Converge can really serve as that layer for where a lot of these applications come together or converge.
Well, Michael, it's Crypto Week in America, man.
It is. It is.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that Trump tweet, but he's pretty hard pressed on getting this Genius Act through, and then also this Clarity Act as well. Very bullish Ethereum on my side as a result of this. Extremely bullish on these kind of legal tender stablecoin-esque products as well. I mean, let's say, end of week, we get Genius Act passed, we get Clarity Act through. What does this do for the tokenization RWA sector? What kind of confidence does this instill? And what does this do for crypto in America as a whole, from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to someone that has spent many years, lobbying on Capitol Hill, multiple very deep engagements with the SEC, CFTC, Treasury, you name it. So the environment that we find ourselves in today here in the US, really with this desire to cement the US as the crypto capital of the world, to have, bipartisan supported legislation passing through Congress, the types of task forces and requests for information and things like that coming out of our regulators and legislators. I mean, this is the type of stuff that an industry, which arguably is still a cottage industry, crypto is tiny compared to all the other industries that our regulators and legislators are responsible for. I mean, these are the types of things that we could only dream of, right? And I think the stakes are probably higher than ever. And I say that because also having somewhat of a global view of crypto, just being in the space over the last decade, it is always, and at the moment remains, the US that so many other jurisdictions look to for guidance. And so how policies get set up, how different pieces of legislation are enacted here in the US definitely is going to have a ripple effect, no pun intended, to other jurisdictions all around the world. So I think this time it does feel different, and the stakes have probably never been higher as to the implications for crypto in general.
Yes, so it's very important that we get this right, which I think why there was a lot of DeFi leaders, going to the White House, going to these meetings, doing their as much as they can to properly lobby in the last even just 6 to 8 months, specifically with this Genius Act, because I think originally there was quite a bit of nuance missing from the actual act, and I think that over time it got to a point where I think a lot of the stablecoin issuers and people that were quite in the know of the matter felt very, very comfortable and strong about this. And so I think the second order effect is going to be, we're about to see a lot more stablecoins launched.
We are
very quickly.
And listen, I think there's a lot of, there are some pole position stablecoins like USDC and Tether and things of that nature. And so with this new framework in place, and it's very easy to understand, you're going to run a stablecoin here in the US and offer it to US investors, things like that, you need to put it in transparent reserves that are registered funds, direct treasuries, short dated repo, things of that nature. And all the new issuers that are up and coming probably just kind of feel like they have everything to gain and nothing to lose, right? Yeah. And not only do we kind of see this new framework having emerged that I think can spur a lot more activity and a lot more issuers coming, but I also think it says a lot for kind of businesses like Securitize, right? Like today, the fund that we worked on and continue to service for BlackRock, the BUIDL fund, that serves as a reserve asset for a lot of stablecoins, right? Yep. And so I think those that are looking at tokenization in general, they're going to see increasingly, not just with stablecoins, but tokenized treasuries, there's just so much more functionality on chain that just traditional rails don't allow for. And in the ever increasingly scrutinized world of atomic subscriptions and access to capital 24/7, it just further necessitates, or it's almost like a shining advertisement or endorsement, that this concept of tokenization of securities and the utility and features that it offers, these are just irrefutable. And this is the direction that banks are going to go in as they launch their own stable coins. Other payment businesses are going to go in, and probably other crypto native stablecoin issuers as well.
So, Michael, with that kind of lens of thought and thought process here, what is the part of this entire sector per se that, as a result of new stablecoin issuers, new stablecoins, and just this continuous growth, like, is there a part of the sector which you can point to specifically as to, like, this is something that people should be watching in the next year more than other parts, or that, hey, like, stablecoins are very exciting, and there's going to be a lot more of them, and tokenized treasuries are great, but like really, there's a lot happening here that I don't think is getting enough love. Is there anything that comes to mind specifically in this sector?
Yeah, I mean, stable coins and tokenized treasuries, Genius Act, these are all very important topics. A topic that arguably is actually getting more airtime, and I think it deserves our airtime as well now, is to talk about the tokenization of equities, right? And that's, seemingly this next big foray into expanding the RWA market and the assets that, we believe are going to be going on chain next. You've seen a variety of announcements from companies believing that they've kind of cracked the model to be able to bring equities on chain. And you have this overall convergence between wealth that's been accumulated in wallets and wealth that's been accumulated in brokerage accounts. And you're starting to see user behavior want those two pools of wealth to converge, so that they have one user interface, one pile of assets that they can really leverage for their investment strategies. And so I think the next natural extension of where we are is the tokenization of equities. I'd say broadly, two major schools of thought have emerged, and I believe and happy to talk about what Securitize is doing here. But those two schools of thought are really one, wrapping securities. And so you have a lot of folks that are working to create special purpose vehicles or wrappers where the tokenized interest is in that wrapper itself before the user has actually any recourse or legal rights or obligations to the underlying equity that it owns.
Yep.
We think that that's a problematic strategy. It doesn't really demonstrate for the users a real ownership. Instead, it's really more like synthetic representation. And I think the SEC has even recently commented, Hester Peirce last week put out some commentary on exactly this, that these kind of receipts for securities don't really allow issuers or investors to enjoy the protections that US securities have. We at Securitize, on the other hand, have taken a much more digitally native approach. So because we have the infrastructure surrounding our broker-dealer, our transfer agent, and DTC connectivity, we're actually able to facilitate the movement of shares of a security that someone owns regular way back through the DTC system, and thus able to mint the asset back to the user in their wallet, so that they enjoy the exact same rights and ownership and governance and distributions and everything that they would normally be experiencing in a traditional environment. And so at the moment, these two schools of thought are out there. Ultimately, I think something is going to come to a head around this. I think regulators are watching this closely. I think that a lot of this activity, certainly around synthetic and kind of wrappers of equities, are happening more offshore. But certainly as soon as some of that activity comes back into the US market and into the wallets of US known investors, I think it is going to be problematic. And I do think this is something everyone should be paying attention to, and everyone should be watching.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds quite similar to owning Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain in a ledger versus owning wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum, for example, right? I mean, it's different, but from a very crypto native lens, there are going to be investors who are okay with that, and there's going to be investors who seemingly are not going to want that.
I think that's right, but I think it extends beyond that. Like that's certainly a crypto native analogy that we can sink our teeth into. But if you really are thinking about this happening in size and institutions coming to want to trade equities 24/7, 365, they're going to care quite a bit about the tax treatment, the governance rights, the ability to have voting rights on the equities that they own. And a lot of that stuff won't be able to be extrapolated or make its way into the way that that's done for these synthetic or wrap securities. And I think certainly from a regulator perspective, I don't see how it would be possible to instill the protections around insider trading and order protection and all the kinds of things and disclosure that certainly our regulators want to ensure that investors have when they are making these types of investments.
Yep. Totally get it. So I'm I am. It is going to be fun to watch these two kind of schools of thought play out. It's good. It's good to hear that Securitize is very much thinking about this from a. Again, it's not necessarily like the crypto ethos per se, but it's just this ownership that is valuable, and then all of these different kind of aspects that institutions will want that you just kind of put out there. I think will also fall into line there. So I agree broadly as well. Tokenized equities. I also think like extrapolating that to the next extreme is like let's put instead of I don't think Stripe's ever gonna go public, but like instead of instead of your favorite app on your phone that's kind of small but kind of big, that could do an IPO potentially. No. Why don't we think about a way to do some sort of like on-chain IPO or some sort of like tokenized version of these ownerships? And I think that could also happen, but obviously we're still in step one here of just getting tokenized equities on chain. But that's something that I'm excited about too.
Yeah, listen, and I think what you just said is coming, right? On-chain IPOs, on-chain secondaries. I mean, there's no reason that issuers should not be able to tap directly into this, installed base of investors who are looking for these types of opportunities. And I think it's the next natural evolution of capital markets. In fact, we and some others actually think that over time, as the tokenization of stocks, continues to pervade, this actually might be the next evolution of ETFs, right? Today, we've seen and continue to see day after day more and more mutual funds shutting down and swapping into ETF format. That's been a decade plus, kind of process. And perhaps over the next, however many years, we see a similar, kind of movement and user behavior away from ETFs into, tokenized securities that can serve with those same types of exposures.
Yep. Very, very interesting. Last thing for you, Michael, that I have is, so you worked at Grayscale for quite a while. I just have a couple of questions about that. First of all, where were you when Barry Silbert tweeted, "It's going to be a big week," and then that became one of the biggest memes in crypto?
I don't know if I remember where I physically was, but that's my time at Grayscale, 10 and a half years is a time period I look back on really fondly.
Yeah.
A lot of wins, a lot of successes, a lot of lessons learned, a lot of great people along the way, and probably a lot of big weeks if I really think back on it.
So you guys grew this to, a multi-billion-dollar kind of entity, with everything from the ETF products to the kind of like tokenized or basically funds for different tokens, et cetera. What are some of the lessons that you carried over in particular, or at least just what are some of the things that you personally overcame, wanted, and have since kind of grown skills as a result of your time there that you're carrying over to Securitize? If you could pinpoint a couple things that
bunch of things come to mind. So I think first and foremost, when I joined Grayscale essentially as employee number one, I remember when we were 2 people, 5 people, 10 people, 100 people, right? And so over time, as the business grew and scaled, it was so important for me and everyone around me to learn delegation. As the company became more complex, our processes became more complex, the ability to delegate and lean on team members was just something I and everyone had to learn. And certainly something that I'm taking with me as I, now am in this role at Securitize, overseeing a whole bunch of different parts of the organization. I think too, culture is so key. At Grayscale and certainly at Securitize, we want people to, show up as their authentic selves, do their best work. And because we are not a bank, because we are not an institution that has, the rigidity of so many different, levels of approval and committees, and we want to, move fast and sometimes break things. When you create an environment for people to just be who they are, and do their best work, not be afraid to take risks, ask questions, question the status quo. I always felt, and seem to continue to feel that you actually get the best output out of employees. And I think the third thing, and this is not just a grayscale thing I learned, and certainly not just something I'm carrying with me at Securitize, but is just generally knowledge that I take with me. The best companies, they hire people, they don't hire resumes. I think when you are building a team, building an organization, sometimes the 0 to 1 people are not necessarily the 1 to 2 people. And it's not just what's right for the company, but also what's right for the individual themselves as they think about their career path. So I always encourage people to, always look at things with a fresh perspective and make sure that they're not kind of stifling their own growth or the growth of the business they're a part of as well.
Well said. $25 billion market cap for RWAs today, about $243 or $245 million in stablecoin supply. I'm expecting good 8x on stablecoins by the end of next year. You can tell me where RWAs are going. I appreciate you coming on, Michael. Thanks for joining, man.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Cheers, man. Speak to you soon. Keep. Alrighty, guys. Great segment there with Michael from Securitize. That was fun. Last one coming up with 𝘗𝘓𝘓 to talk about some of the work that he's been doing on the Songcoin side of things and some of the more on-chain native primitives. I'm just so bullish on the growth of RWAs in the coming months, weeks. A little alpha leak for you guys as I put in a little piece of nicotine gum. We're live in Sweden. It's 9 p.m. We're vibing. Where's Rob? Where's Rob? Somebody call Rob. Somebody give Robbie a call. Tell him that we need him on here. Little piece of alpha is that we're going to be taking this and kind of tuning it up quite a bit more to talk more and more about this concept of tokenization and this concept of real-world assets. I mean, if you ask us what is the most important development of this entire cycle, it is this institutional onboarding into crypto. It is this kind of real capital, real people who are going to have a lot of influence in the way that the space goes forward. And for better or for worse, that's something that we need to accept and be a part of and help shape on our own. And so we're going to do our best to be a part of that. We're going to do our best to properly bring the crypto ethos, what matters to us and to you guys, with us on that journey. But yeah, I would say a little alpha leak for the Rollup is expect a lot more live streams coming up in crypto Twitter and Twitter and in general. Expect us to be very niche down going forward in this kind of sector. Michael's the first part of it. That was a great episode. A lot of insights, fun to talk to. The thing that I would like to get more from these kind of like tokenization RWA conversations is like more concrete, like I hate to use the word alpha, but like more concrete, direct ideas that we can then go and take and like, and iterate on. And so it may be hard to actually have that happen where like I can do an episode and then go and like go buy something on chain. Obviously that's not the goal, but perhaps there's a bigger way that I can create the conversation such that it allows us to then go make different decisions in the future, or like have a stance or a view, do more research on that, use our fund to find early stage projects that are investing in these types of things, etc. So look guys, up next we got 𝘗𝘓𝘓𝗧, who is a good friend. You might know him as 𝘗𝘓𝘓𝘓 on the timeline. It is going to be fun. We're actually talking about a song that one of the first songs that he's doing a Songcoin for is actually a song that I would listen to when I was dropping out of college. And so it's going to be pretty fun to have him talk about that and more. I think he's in the back now. We're ready to have him. Let's get him up and welcome him up. 𝘗𝘓𝘓𝘓, what's up, man? 𝘗𝘓𝘓. Dude. So you're telling me that I'm not the only one that was listening to We Rise, We Fall on repeat every single day in the early grind?
Not quite, man. I actually have a good story from that song. So me and my friend Lucas, he runs pods.media. We were
Yeah, yeah.
traveling around Southeast Asia, fresh out of college. We hit up Singapore for one of our first crypto conferences, Consensus Singapore, maybe 2017. And I see my friend 𝘱𝘁𝘍𝘍 playing a show in Vietnam. So, we hop on a plane, get over to Hanoi, and who do we run into the airport? But good old 𝘱𝘁𝘍𝘍 there takes us backstage. One of my very first experiences hanging out with him. And so we've been building that friendship together for close to 10 years at this point. So very full circle moment being able to bring that song on chain.
Yeah, man. I mean, that song, I have such a vivid memory. So I went to University of Florida, and I would sit at this library called Library West, and I would just get these little blue caffeine drinks, like these little energy drinks, and I would just crank work and be listening to it on repeat. No calls, just all like cold outreach for an original online marketing company. And it was just like, we rise, we fall. It's just good, man.
I mean, that was the golden era of SoundCloud. And I know we'll get into it in the crux of this conversation, but for anyone that was around SoundCloud at that time, you really just felt such an energy to all the music that was coming out then, all the artists that were blowing up then. And so the vision I have is how do we kind of do that again, but allow the people who are actually early to finding those songs and finding those artists be able to get upside in those exact same assets. So a lot to unpack here. I don't want to front run the conversation, but it was definitely great to know that you were familiar with the song prior to it going live.
Yeah, man. And it's kind of funny, right? Like, I mean, I thought SoundCloud somehow had the best platform for discovering new songs that you and your boys would listen to in the car or put on the aux at parties, but somehow just never caught the traction that some of these larger players got. And I actually think that what you're saying could have, had we had this thought and had we had on-chain stuff in the past, it could have, saved SoundCloud. So look, we'll get right into it. We'll talk about Songcoins. You released this yesterday, Songcoins. You got memes by ICO Beast for, reframing music NFTs. You clap back. It's a great vibe. What are Songcoins? Why does this matter to you? What is the, core idea here behind Songcoins?
Real-time markets for music. The idea is being able to prove that you are early to your favorite songs and your favorite artists. I think that anyone who's been in crypto for a long time understands that no better feeling than catching a coin early, getting to watch it go on a run. I think the exact same thing is possible with music. Obviously, there's been a lot of trials and errors to get to this point in time, but I think coins are the most liquid form of this that we've seen to date. I think it unlocks the ability to do a lot of cool stuff with incentives and giving fans their first taste of crypto. And so I'm happy to go down the full rabbit hole here, but at its very simplest form, we're looking to create real-time markets for music, give people a chance to be early to the songs that they know and love, and trying to remove all the friction that's associated with being in crypto in the first place.
So I was in Albania last week with a good friend, and I sent him a song on SoundCloud that another friend of mine had sent me. And I think the song's for sure going to blow up. 100% is like a dub trance banger, but it has like really solid like vocals on it too. It's just such a good song. You're telling me that I can go and bet that song is going to blow up in like some arbitrary time period, and if I'm right, I capture the upside as if I was like buying a stock early?
I wouldn't use those exact words for it. Let's be very clear that it's not like there's royalties of the songs being pumped back in the token on day one. But I would say that you're basically being early to the popularity of that song. And I think that these markets represent the first time in music that you can actually put capital behind that belief and that interest. And so sending it to your boys is one thing, but being able to actually place some money behind that, put some skin in the game, that's kind of the new paradigm that we're looking to build here. I'll be very upfront that it's not like we're going to disintermediate Spotify anytime soon. They have an amazing product, an amazing listening experience. I think the dynamic that we bring to the table is this concept of a market. The idea that songs do have a market cap, that you can actually trade these coins, you can buy a percent of the supply, you can send those to your friends. And over time, if we can create better ways to let you earn those coins from actually supporting and promoting the music in the real world, the North Star here is that the markets that are happening on chain can actually influence the popularity of the song in the real world as well.
Yeah, that is a really, really cool self-fulfilling prophecy effect. If you can get that flywheel going, that would be really, really cool. So, okay, so 𝘗𝘓𝑚 Records, your kind of like record company, is and kind of label here. You guys are going to bring a ton of these song coins, 10x them to consumers kind of broadly. you kind of mentioned, obviously, it's going to be difficult to, battle with the incumbents per se, but that's not, that's not necessarily the immediate goal. I'm curious how you are going to try to take some of what you've done here in the crypto native world to the kind of everyday music fan, people that are not familiar with the on-chain kind of life per se. Obviously, Sonho is a great example, but talk to us a bit about kind of your shift towards more broad everyday people, with your personal brand, with your label, and kind of how you plan to even scale that more with Songcoins.
There's two things here. One, crypto is extremely intimidating to most people. It's extremely scammy to most people, or they just don't care about it at all. And so I think the first thing is just addressing that head on. And so the strategy we've taken with a lot of these artists is to go to them and say, hey, crypto is this entirely new world. We understand that it's not something that you probably have a deep interest in. We understand it's something that you probably feel pretty polarized by. And so how do we kind of act as this trusted party to allow you to expose your music to the crypto world in a way that feels good to you? And so we have about 200 artists on the platform today. And the way that we do that is by making it extremely simple for them to get started. They just send us a song and a cover art. We make a wallet for them. We upload the tracks for them. They're making income on top of their streaming royalties that they would have never had otherwise. And for them, it's a very straightforward process. We actively say to them, don't worry about promoting this to your fans. Crypto is going to get you in some hot water. And so we don't want to put you in that hot water. And so we're typically just going to market these to crypto native buyers. I think the next chapter of this that you're referring to is basically going and actually meeting fans where they're at. And so my day-to-day these days is basically just going to 3 to 5 shows a week, going to festivals like Electric Forest, EDC, Burning Man coming up, whatever it might be, and basically just meeting people where they're at when they're actually consuming and discovering new artists, and then just having real conversations with them. Just showing them the app, getting them through the getting started flow, getting them signed up for a wallet with an email address. And it's really not that sexy at the end of the day, but I think it just comes down to trust and authenticity. I think so much of music really just comes down to like the artists that you trust, the people you go to shows with, the labels you work with, the managers you work with, and there's no shortcut here. It's not like I can just fast pass and just get the trust and validation of all these people who have been going to shows for decades on end. Like, you just need to be present in these environments for a very long period of time. And so I'd say the last year or two has been really a good starting ground for us to build trust within the electronic music world. And basically the way I see it is I love electronic music. It's the source of everything that I do. I DJ every single day in my living room. I try and play as many shows and events as possible, and just kind of meet people in the areas that they're at, and hopefully over time show them that crypto might not be as intimidating as they thought, because it's super easy and because it unlocked a new concept that everyone gets in principle, but that we haven't really seen actually executed in practice before.
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, your like DJ sets have blown up. Like, it's crazy. Like,
I mean, blown up's a strong word for me, DJing for 100 people, but I appreciate the kind words.
So you're telling me you're just out there in the real life trenches doing market research and onboarding new people to be a part of this, understand what they want, why they want it, getting them on, bringing them on chain without even necessarily even needing to talk about crypto. And then basically you can build this very, very niche market segment of on-chain users, and bring them new music based on what their taste could be or what you think is good. So you're just out there just like pulling people in on-chain one by one.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I know it doesn't sound like the most sexy thing in the world, but look,
No,
man, you gotta talk to these people. I think a big problem I have with crypto is that we don't really get outside of our echo chamber very much, and it's hard. It's hard to go up to someone that you don't have a prior connection with and show them this app, and they already have an aversion to anything new in the first place, let alone something that has crypto under the hood. And so I think for me, it starts with the artist. It starts with the quality of content and the music that's on the platform. And so the last year or two for us has really just been, let's get great artists on this platform. Let's show that we can get music that never traditionally was able to be available in this space, because we found a new way to bring it on chain. And I think that during, the whole 2021, 2022 NFT era, you had this class of like NFT artists that I think really leaned into being popular in the crypto world because maybe they're having a tough time finding success in the real world. And so I think what we're doing is actually flipping that paradigm on its head, where the artists we work with, they already have very large fan bases. They're touring, they're playing festivals, their monthly listeners are very high. And we're not going to them and saying, hey, we're going to break you in this new world, or we're going to, destroy the music industry or reinvent Spotify. We're just saying, hey, there's a new crowd here that could be interested in what you're doing. We see an opportunity to create something that's really new and exciting. And if you zoom out far enough, I think that we can get some really cool things going and hopefully try and recreate that same magic that SoundCloud era had back in the day, but in this net new format that has, coins and market cap and all these things that we love in crypto.
Yeah, I mean, it gives the small, what's the saying, like starving artist or whatever, starving writer. It gives that like small, for lack of a better term, nobody a chance to like with financial incentives properly placed. It gives them a chance to, how people have gone from 0 to 100K on TikTok overnight. Gives them a chance to do that in the music world in a completely, all the properties that are great of blockchain, namely in this case the global nature of it, really, the permissionless participation from anybody to be able to be a part of it, either as a creator or as what would be a listener / speculator or believer. And so that's a cool property of it. But then the even like better property of it, from my view, is that there's a saying in like internet marketing for personal brands and such, where it's like you have 1,000 true fans. This is like 1,000 true fans, but like they have some sort of like ownership in the trajectory of your music career somehow, which is just, that is a different level of like co-ownership of somebody that like then the actual artist. There's a lot of possibilities that they can do with that kind of community.
Totally. I do want to be really vocal though, that as 𝘓𝑚 Records stands today, it's a curated platform, which means that we're like manually onboarding all of the artists that we're releasing on the site. And so I think one thing that I've noticed with, again, just taking a step back, like you mentioned at the top of the hour, like people think music NFTs are a joke, and I understand why. And there's a very negative stigma around. I agree. It's true though. It's like the actual perception of how people think about this space. And I think a big reason for that is the narratives that we use to talk about this new technology are often so grand that they don't feel realistic in their execution. And so I'm not going to sit here and say that like someone can come and drop a song on 𝘓𝑚 Records today and then blow up tomorrow, because that's not possible in its current shape or form. I think in our current mentality, we're still iterating to figure out how to actually bring established artists onto the platform. Once we have the artists on the platform, that doesn't mean that someone necessarily wants to buy those coins or those songs. And so I just think we need to kind of take a step back and just be really realistic about where we're currently at, that we have a lot of artists that are down to experiment. We're still experimenting with this new format. We have a lot that needs to be done on the product level. We have a lot that needs to be done on the go-to-market side of things. But this attempt that we currently have at Songcoins and being able to buy in early to a song, have a price and a market cap, it's not a new concept to crypto people, but it is a new concept to real music fans and real artists. 100%. And so being able to actually address those concerns head on, every single conversation I have with an artist is, I love the idea of it. How do I make it so that a fan doesn't buy the top on my coin and then lose money? Yeah. And I can't sit there and say that that's not going to happen or that's not realistic. And so we're basically in this interesting middle ground where I feel like crypto people have more or less gotten used to the volatility that comes with these massive swings and pumps and dumps and upticks in volume and price, etc. But that is not something that artists have ever experienced before. It's not something that fans have ever experienced before. And so being able to blend those two worlds in a way that actually feels appetizing and engaging to real music fans so they don't lose all their money buying a song that they've known for 10 years because some whale dumped on them. There's a lot of dynamics at play here that I think are really, really important to talk about out loud, because these are the things that we need to be able to figure out to actually bring this product to mass market and get people really interested in it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the, just pure down to earth realism. And I think you're spot on, and that, that's going to help shape your decisions with the 𝘓𝑚 Records and just with how you want to take this thing. Which brings me to my last thing for you, buddy, is what is the, what's your main focus for the next couple months, right? So you've brought this out to market. You're, as you say, kind of handpicking artists, kind of getting this. I kind of think of it as like having training wheels. You maybe start to bring more artists on, more collectors, kind of start to open it up a bit more. What does the next like quarter or so look like for you guys?
Real-time markets. So right now we're going back from the back catalog and just picking out popular songs that have been out on Spotify for a very long time. So we chatted about �WeRise. That song's been out for 10 years at this point.
Banger.
It's got some nostalgia to it, but this really starts to work when these songs are being uploaded the same day that they're available on Spotify. And so being able to buy these things in real time, the same day they come out everywhere else, that's kind of the main impetus, is just having more real-time markets with music that's being released in real time. And from there, it's just about the ease of use of the app itself. And so we're about a month or so away from having this in the App Store. Very simply put, you sign up with an email, you're able to buy some songs with credits, you're topping up your account with Apple Pay, basically making it so you don't need to know anything about crypto, base, ETH to start playing around in the first place.
Bullish, man.
And then from there, it's actually building inroads into the existing music behaviors that exist today. So if I'm pre-saving a song on Spotify, how does that unlock some coins for me? If I'm sharing a song on TikTok or Instagram Reels and I'm adding a hashtag to it, how does that unlock some coins for me? If I'm going to a show, how does that unlock some coins for me? And so I think the big kind of roadmap for us is basically just meet fans where they're at, allow them to have their first positive experience with crypto through the Coop Records app, and basically give them their first taste of an airdrop through doing something that they've already been doing, which is listening, consuming great music, and sharing that with their friends.
Beautiful. Actually, one more for you is, how do you think about this kind of idea in relation to Jesse's content coins and coin concept? Like, is this something that you've drawn inspiration from, or do you see any similarities or parallels?
Totally. I mean, that was a really big influence for us going in this direction, as we looked at what's happening on Base and on sort of Zora and all these platforms, and we're really inspired by it. And tomorrow we're going to be one of the featured apps in this new TBA announcement that's coming out here. And
Let's
so
go.
Base has been a great partner for us. Jesse's been a huge advocate of it. You know, you're going to be able to trade these coins directly in the Coinbase wallet app and do all this fun stuff with it. So I think just the ease of use of being able to interact with these coins and sort of normalizing the idea that all content, all media, all music does actually have a price and a value behind it. That's the high level goal here. And I feel like we're closer to it than we ever have been before.
Beautiful. Coop, thanks for joining, man. Stoked for you. Stoked for the next couple months. Keep crushing. Excited to get the app as well. If you can help a boy out with like a beta version or a test flight, I'm there. So appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the time.
All right, G. Peace out, man.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. I am so glad that Coop's still building in the space. That guy's just great. I mean, he's just down to earth, gets it done. Kind of had a lot of fun in the back of the NFT run. Had a lot of people kind of hating on that entire idea as well. It's just good to see that he's kicking, got a new way to build this out, a new idea. So yeah, guys, I mean, what a stream from Sweden. It's 9:30 in Sweden. Been going for about an hour and a half, hour and 45. Gonna wrap it up here. See you on Thursday. Got a big stream Thursday. Tons of technical concepts, ZK stuff, announcements, etc. Thanks, guys, for watching. Welcome back to Rollup TV. We are back going live again every single week, multiple times per week. Gonna scale it up more. Gonna niche it down more. Got new segments for you. Got new shows coming out. We're gonna outpace and out innovate. See you soon. Thank you.